Guess what, guys? We've just started a new series here at Gearist. It's called Gearist. Yo, what's up? So please click this button right in front of my face on top of this beer right here and go check out Gearist. Now, enjoy the show. Hey there guys, thanks so much for joining us today. My name is Brandon from Gearist.com, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Oterro from Topo Athletic. If you've ever watched a review here on Gearist, especially a shoe review, then you know that we're very big fans of things that are super versatile. So our interest was really piqued when we saw the Topo Athletic show up at Gearist headquarters. And no, I'm not going to pronounce it Oterro the whole time. On their website, Topo refers to this shoe as a multi-sport shoe, but what does that mean? It doesn't look like a triathlon shoe per se. There are no drain holes as some triathlon shoes like to have. So what does that mean? Well, turns out this is a shoe that most people are going to be able to find a lot to do with. So let's check it out. As always, the first thing we're going to talk about is the outsole. Now, to me, the first thing that this reminded me of was a car tire. As you can see here, it looks just like a tire tread, kind of interestingly. It's pretty much a full coverage rubber on the entire shoe. It's not a full contact midsole per se, it almost is, but you can see there is a little bit of rise here through the arch on both the medial and the lateral side. As for flex grooves, what we've got on here is basically only two of those flex grooves. So you've got this one right here that falls in front of the metatarsal heads, which is basically where you're going to want that shoe to flex the most. And then you've got another one that's kind of a nod to Topo's history, to their tabby style shoe, the RR that we reviewed. You can watch that video right here. Now, this is not a split toe shoe per se, but that is a little flex groove that falls in between the big toe and the second toe. So that's kind of a nod to their past. While a lot of shoes that have a full coverage outsole such as this, they tend to get a little bit rigid sometimes, especially when that rubber is supposed to be super durable or tough or whatever kind of labels they want to use on it. In the case of the Oterro, because of this tire-shaped design, I notice a lot of flexibility, as you can see here. This thing allows the shoe and the foot to do whatever it wants in any direction. So the flexibility is in no way, shape, or form compromised with this full coverage outsole. As for the multi-sport aspects of this shoe, we're going to get into that a little bit more in the performance or ride section of the review. However, I will say that this shoe has been on hikes, it's been on trail runs, it's been scrambling up some rocks and some, I don't want to call it climbing, but pseudo-climbing type stuff, and it's performed spectacularly in all those conditions in terms of the traction. It's a really great 4.5 millimeter deep lugs, not hugely deep lugs, but well enough to be very versatile. It's also been on road and does quite well there as well. Feels like a nice minimal running shoe. Now let's take a look at the midsole of the shoe, which is actually something that's very interesting to me. Now, as you can see here, because I can squish it quite well, it's pretty soft midsole. And what's interesting about that is you would expect it to feel squishy. However, being that this is a 17 millimeter stack height and zero drop for the record, it actually has a lot of really great ground feel. And because it's so close to the ground, when you kind of hit it, you may feel a little bit of cushion, definitely going to feel a little bit of cushion, but that ground feel is still there and it's not really a squishy shoe at all. You kind of compress the EVA to a solid state pretty quickly, and that's a nice thing and keeps some of the responsiveness of this shoe. Now let's talk about the upper of the Oterro. A while back, when Topo launched the MT, or Mountain Trainer, they started with a new process for them, and that was 3D printing the structure onto the upper. Now, of course, we've seen TPU or plastic overlays that are heat bonded or welded or sonically molded to the shoe and things like that. But until then, I'd not seen something that was effectively using 3D printing as the support structure on the upper. What this does, and it's used here in the Oterro as well, is it allows for, of course, these very sleek lines, but also a very durable type of support structure that is bonded so closely to the fabric of the upper that it really creates a very durable and strong support structure. Now, all that 3D printing overlays a very breathable mesh. You can blow right through it. Now, what's great about it is it's closed enough to keep out most debris. However, I did notice that there was some fine dirt that would get in. It's basically just dust that's going to make its way through here. That's fine. This is not exactly a super cold weather shoe or anything like that, but it is something worth noting. Also, interior of the shoe is pretty comfortable. There's only two real seams inside of the Oterro, and neither one of them are very uncomfortable by any stretch of the imagination. What I did notice is that the mesh, primarily in the midfoot forward, is not the softest thing in the world. It didn't cause me any aggravation on a couple barefoot hikes and strolls and things like that. But if you're running over a long period of time, depending on how sensitive the skin of your feet is, you may feel a little bit of agitation, but it really is kind of a person-to-person thing. The lacing on the Oterro uses a speed lace system that you can see right there. Now, what's interesting about this is that it comes pre-set up this way. I really like it. It allows plenty of play. And actually, they've got this loop down here by the bottom of the laces that you can actually tuck this end of the speed laces under. It's a really cool, well thought out thing that keeps it really, really out of the way of the runner if that's your thing. Now, the shoe also comes with normal laces if you're not a big fan of the speed laces. However, be warned that to get the speed laces off, you do need to cut them, because where they're tied together is under this little rubber guy right here, and I can't seem to move it out of the way in order to untie. So you've got to cut it. It doesn't mean that the speed laces are then obsolete after that, but they probably are. But it's not like it's a big deal to replace these speed laces with other speed laces if you want to. And the heel of the shoe, you can see here we've got this nice little speed loop and actually a really quite flexible heel counter, which is very nice. The tongue is not gusseted, but it does have two lace loops. You can see one there and one right there. Those are great because, pet peeve of mine, it's going to prevent any sort of tongue slide, which is really nice. I have to say that I really like the way the upper is built. It's not the most beefy thing in the world, but for being a shoe that's meant to be so versatile, this is a really nice job that Topo did here. Now let's talk about the fit. A while ago, I had the chance to meet with Topo's founder and CEO, Tony Post. Get it? Topo, Tony Post. And one of the things that impressed me in talking to Tony is that his goal in creating this shoe and the entire line of shoes from Topo is to build something that really paid attention to the anatomical shape of the foot. And they've done a great job with that in all their shoes that I've tried. Now, in the Oterro, in terms of sizing, Topo actually says on their website that because it's got more of a streamlined anatomical fit, you may want to go up a half size. I didn't notice that at all. This is an 11, just like all the other shoes that I wear that are standard size, and it fit me just the way that I would want it to. However, since even Topo is admitting that from the get-go, it's definitely worth either ordering 2 pairs and returning one or trying them on first. That anatomical fit that they brag about is definitely something that's apparent here. There's plenty of cinch down room in the heel and the midfoot, but the toe box is really great. I did notice that when I wore some thicker socks, it didn't have quite as much splay, obviously, but it's got plenty of room up there to move around and wiggle your toes. And again, if you feel like it's a little snug, go up a half size, you should be solid. Let's talk about the ride of the Oterro. Now, earlier I mentioned that I'd taken this on many different things, and since it's listed as a multi-sport shoe, let's just kind of go down the list a little bit. First, on runs. Now, I took this on trail runs, and I took it on some kind of groomed trails and then not so groomed trails. And I have to say that it does well on both. Although, because there's no rock plate per se and that flexibility, while I like flexibility on really rough stuff, it was a little bit too much almost. This really does shine though on very groomed trails, and I really liked it. A lot of people are referring to this more as like a fast hiker or a hiking shoe, light hiker, what have you. I don't see a reason you can't run in this at all. I mean, it's a great shoe for running. I felt very comfortable in it. Again, the last is very similar to that in the Topo MT, the mountain trainer that I mentioned a second ago. One of the things that you might notice is that because of this great flexibility that it offers, a lot of times that means that you might miss some of the responsiveness. Now, it really depends on your foot function. To me, it wasn't a big deal because I like to really kind of fire when I'm trying to get after some speed. But you may think that this kind of not sags into the ground, but just doesn't quite give you as much pop as you might see in some more race-oriented shoes. Now, as a light hiking shoe, I have to say that I really did enjoy this. I took this actually on some hairier things, and again, some scrambling and things like that up, some pretty gnarly little kind of hillsides and things like that, and it did a great job. I really felt very free to move around because it's not like a high top hiking boot or something like that, but it's just a really solid all-around shoe. Again, if you're going over super rocky or baby-headed like crags and scree type terrain for a long time, it might feel a little bit agitated underfoot again because there's not so much. Remember, you only have a 17mm stack height and no rock plate to speak of, but in terms of generally being a nice light hiker, it does a spectacular job and allows you the flexibility to scramble up rocks and jump and all this other kind of stuff that you might have a hard time doing in a more beefy boot. If I had to put this shoe into a category, I don't know that I could, and I don't know that I'd want to be very honest. I think it does a great job with all these things, and that's the mark of a really versatile shoe. And as I mentioned at the beginning, it's something that a lot of people are going to be able to have access to because let's say you don't have hardcore trails, but you have some roads. This is going to be a great option for things like that. Overall, I really think the Oterro is a great shoe for most people. I mean, if you've got to have a label on a shoe and not having a specific label like a speed shoe, a long distance shoe, a trail shoe, whatever, then this might fire off your OCD tendencies. But if you can deal with a shoe that is literally a good utility shoe for pretty much whatever you want to throw at it, this is the guy you want to check out. Now at $100, its price point is actually really nice too, and especially if you've got such wide variety of terrain like we do here in Colorado. This is definitely something to check out. This is a solid shoe from Topo, and I have to say that everything they've put out of that company, even for a small company, has been really well thought out, well designed, and we're big fans. So definitely check out the Oterro from Topo Athletic. So guys, our question for you today is, have you had a chance to try any of Topo Athletic shoes? If you have, let's hear it in the comment section below, and if you haven't, let's hear if you want to try some soon. Guys, thanks so much for joining us today. Please don't forget to like and favorite this video and also subscribe to our channel. You can do that by clicking that little YouTube button over there, or there's another subscribe button floating around here, so just click it. Please subscribe to our channel. We'd really, really appreciate it. Otherwise, don't forget to follow us on all our social networks, which you can see right over here, and just click on the one you want to check out, or visit us at Gearist.com right down there. As always, we're happy to hear from you. You can contact us here on our YouTube channel just by leaving a comment in the comment section down below, emailing info@Gearist.com, or just reach out to us on Twitter and Instagram, both of which are @TheGearist. Also, don't forget that Facebook. I'm telling you, it's good stuff. Anyway, guys, thank you so much, and have a great one.